This is Zen Kishimoto with Network.tv. I'm on the show floor of the Cloud Connect 2012 in Santa Clara, California. Here with me is the Neil Levin from Nodeable. He's a VP of product. Neil, thank you for coming.
My pleasure to be here.
Okay, this is very interesting, your company situation. When you start very early, people have a hard way to understand what this company is all about. But people start to call you Twitter for machines. Is this accurate description of a company, or can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
It's accurate and it's short and convenient, but the more formal explanation is we say we're a real-time information network for cloud systems and services, which means that the experience you get is not too dissimilar to Twitter. You can follow and unfollow pieces of infrastructure, software, and cloud services, which is very intuitive to people who are using social networks. But the type of information you get is much more relevant and useful for you if you're managing an application or you're managing infrastructure in the cloud.
So this is mostly for the system administrators, or is this also used for developers as well?
It's for both. I think we see that with the DevOps movement that there's the two types of users you're talking about are merging into one actually, and developers are responsible for operations, and operations people are now having to do engineering work. So the tool is very much pitched at that audience where you're using the cloud in your day-to-day operations, but you're developing an application in it.
Well, I have done some system in network before, so I can understand that reading a lot of very long, cryptic sort of log file is a problem. But your example on your website is just too simplistic. Can you give us a little bit more of an interesting example, like an application failure could happen in many different ways?
Sure, so the type of information that we're bringing in is principally coming from the APIs that we get access to with all the modern cloud services. I think the traditional way of trying to diagnose problems has been you look through log files and you typically build up experience over many years to know what those error messages mean and to interpret them. And we're saying that actually you can grab a lot of that information programmatically, you can get access to it through these APIs, and actually if you start to see the volume of data that you get in there, it becomes a big data problem. And so that's what we say, that cloud management is now a big data problem. You can look at all this data and actually start to find useful things and make suggestions about what to do in response to a message, or actually try and interpret the message for the user. Typically developers who haven't had all the experience of operations person might not intuitively know what something means or what to do with that message, whereas we're trying to help them. So that the message we have on our website is that really you don't want lots of data, you don't want verbosity, you want simple, concise information which you can act on, just in the same way that if you see a message on Twitter, you follow the link, you respond to the person. Well, we want to deliver that bite-sized little data rather than big data information.
So it sounds like secret source of your solution is analytic engine. Is that right?
There's a number of secret sources in there. I think one part is certainly, it's bringing all this information and adding intelligence to it and transforming it so it's useful to the user, which is not a trivial task. A lot of this information in its raw format is useful to some people, but for the majority of people it's too arcane. So yes, the challenge for us is to transform that information and add intelligence to it such that you can intuitively know what to do with it. And that's why we use some of the mechanics you get in the social networks like hashtags as a sort of a shorthand way of tracking trends and sort of drawing your eye to what's actually going on very quickly.
So what's left to do a year from now, or maybe even 5 years from now?
Well, I think the number of cloud services is only growing, and so for us it's integrating more and more data sources into the product. Obviously we're focused on a lot of the public cloud infrastructures, but there's more private cloud infrastructure coming up. It's also the definition of a cloud service is expanding from just running compute and storage to actually managing your code, deploying your code. We want to integrate as many of these data sources as possible to add to the big data that we're crunching for the users.
Well, thank you very much, Neil. This was Zen Kishimoto. Be sure to tune in, network.tv.